Hello and welcome to Think About It. I have had a breakthrough, a light bulb moment, an aha moment. I finally get it. I finally understand it. I've been asking myself, how in the world can people be so intellectually disconnected and dishonest as to try to pin the blame for the actions of this deranged shooter in Arizona on things like seeing a crosshair or a bullseye on a website, on things like reading a Facebook message? It doesn't make any sense, right? Now I get it. Are you ready? Liberalism cannot afford to recognize any power higher than the government. They believe every ill of society, every wrongdoing, every act of, we'll use the term evil, they will use the term aggression or anger, everything has to be solvable by more legislation. We have a laughable proposal for a new law on the books from a Democratic congressman who wants to, and I'm not kidding, outlaw the use of certain graphics. Yeah, clip art legislation. Bullseyes, crosshairs, they're never appropriate. As if the kid who is plotting this attack on Congresswoman Giffords and the others, as if he was sitting around his room in the basement saying, if I see one more crosshair on a website, I'm going in. Really? That's what we think caused this. Liberalism cannot afford to acknowledge the reality that there is a higher authority, that there is actually lurking within the human heart the potential for dark, evil, sinful activity. And I've noticed that when things like this happen, the left doesn't know where else to turn. They're not being stupid. They don't know where else to go. And so they reflexively have to, A, blame everything and anybody on the right, and then B, start to, in their flailing, aimless, clueless way, try to craft some sort of legislation that can take care of this kind of thing in the future. Well, my friends, the problem that manifested itself in Arizona wasn't political, and it won't be fixed by new laws. Do you think we should outlaw killing? I think that's already been done. Do you think this young man sat at home saying, I'd go and shoot these people, but that might be against the law? No. Generally speaking, criminals know ahead of time that what they're about to do is illegal. They just don't really care. Why is that? It's because their hearts are darkened. It's not because they were motivated by something they heard or saw. And as we continue this context a little further, we now come to hear through interviews with friends and classmates that the young man, he never turned on any talk radio or any conservative television or any of these things. In fact, he more often than not was immersing himself in products from the liberal left of Hollywood, where things like hatred and killing and spewing out violence are encouraged through lyrics or games or whatever. But I don't hear anybody on the right coming out and blaming the left for these things, because on the right we understand something. We understand that all of those messages combined could never overpower a heart that is in the right place. And so, my friends, as you spread this message, or to those of you on the left who already don't like me but somehow watch these, can I remind you of something? There is something more powerful than legislation. There is something perhaps you're willfully overlooking or maybe have never been introduced to. Scripture tells us that the heart is deceitfully wicked. Who can know it? The answer? Only the one who made it. There are some poignant scenes in Bruce Almighty, and I remember very well when Jim Carrey was given the opportunity to play the role of God for a while, and he sat at a computer trying to answer all the world's questions at once and finding himself overwhelmed and overloaded and messing everything up. Do you understand that if any of us were put in charge, it would be a disaster? These days, our friends on the left really do badly want to be in charge. And when they are, when they feel like they are, we get laughably inept solutions such as the anti-clip art legislation. Problem in Arizona, my friends, has nothing to do with graphics, has nothing to do with speech, has to do with darkness. Think about it.